9-month-old Lauryn Dickens is still missing.
A Tennessee mother who allegedly gave her baby away to a total stranger.
Stranger.
Didn't report it to police for 8 days.
Her whereabouts, a complete mystery.
19-year-old Shakara Dickens,
Her mom is locked up.
told cops she gave her 9-month-old baby away to a stranger.
Unknown female wife, 40 to 50 years old.
Just hours after the baby's father allegedly told Dickens to give the child to an unknown white female.
A handoff.
The baby's mother says the woman came to her Raleigh apartment complex that day.
Cops say Dickens claimed she gave baby Lauryn to the female without knowing who she was or where she lived.
Police say she's merely being detained, not officially charged with a crime.
Lauryn Dickens was last seen wearing a brown onesie, 1 foot 9 inches tall, 17 pounds.
Now reports emerge police are investigating whether the baby's father, who is currently behind bars on unrelated charges, knows where Lauryn is.
He told police he knows nothing.
And tonight, that mother, if you call her a mother, is being walked. You can see her there in the orange jumpsuit, being walked after being talked to by homicide detectives back into jail. She has not been charged yet, but could be possibly facing charges of child endangerment, child abuse. Are they trying to squeeze her? Do they clearly believe that there is much more to this story? Let's go to Dr. Lee Van Oker. I've got to ask you a question, Dr. Van Oker, because I find it interesting. They searched the home. We know that they got a hit from a cadaver dog. We know that they took things out. They took the walker. They took the baby seat. They took brown bags full of items. If there is some DNA of this beautiful little baby, would they be able to detect that? Would investigators be able to point that out?
Well, I'm sure if the child lived there, there is some DNA there, right?
But knowing that it's a dead child, unfortunately, well, I hate to use that word, but...
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're going to look for DNA and things related to blood and those types of things, and then also look for prints that don't match, you know, the parents or the grandparents. Supposedly, if this woman came, did she come into the house? But there will be DNA evidence because the child's there, but to actually find tissue or blood is some of the stuff that they're hoping to find.
And Steve Cardian, former police detective, also self-defense expert, it does make it more complex because the child lived there. By taking the car seat, of course the child would have been in the car seat. The child would have been in the walker. How do you make the distinction that there was actually a crime that took place?
They're going to look for body and tissue samples, something that may indicate that the child was murdered. They could even, like in the Kaylee Anthony case, they found dead hair in the back of that trunk. So those are the items that they're going to be looking for at that location.
Let's go to Janita from Indiana, who's on the line. Janita, what's your question tonight?
Well, my question tonight is there any way that you guys can check into her financial situation? Maybe she came into a large sum of money from them selling the baby or something. If this child is not dead, the family is awful quiet for no one to be coming forth asking to please return my child, my grandchild, my niece, my nephew, something. So maybe the child was sold. Maybe the father behind the bars had something to do with it.
Very interesting. Let's go to Dan Horowitz, defense attorney. Dan, I'm sure they're looking at her financial records. I'm sure they're looking at a lot of records right now. And speaking of the dad claims, by the way, we spoke to the attorney tonight for the dad. And the attorney said that there was no communication, that they didn't speak by phone, there were no visits. And what's really significant, Dan, by that, I think, is that she claims she spoke to the dad, and the dad said, someone's going to show up tomorrow, a friend, give the baby to this person, and then this, quote, stranger shows up. So she's blaming it on the dad. But if we can prove that there was no phone call, no visit, no communication, she's sunk.
You see, Rita, you're so right that you also raised the point of the squeeze play here. I think they're risking the whole case with this squeeze, and I'll tell you why. If they have a cadaver dog saying that there was a dead body in that house, and that's part of the reason they arrested her, not for murder, but for child endangerment, an attorney could go in there, plead her guilty to the child endangerment, which is a much lesser crime, and that might be double jeopardy and block any murder charge because it has the element of the child's death as part of the reason for the arrest. And it also might be an illegal arrest because everybody knows that she didn't endanger that child. She either killed the child or someone else did. She didn't give it away. So it's a phony reason to arrest her. It's a squeeze play, but it's manufactured. It might not hold up under scrutiny.
But wait, Alex Sanchez, wait a minute. Alex Sanchez, She gave the child away by her own admission to a stranger.
Yeah,
How is that not endangering? And she, by the way, she gives us, you know, a bizarre description: closed-toed sandals, you know, gray hair parted in the middle. I mean, too exacting. There's something so fishy about this story. And even if you take her at her word, somebody shows up, oh, here, have my baby, and I'll wait 8 days to report it. Alex, come on.
I got news for you. The police may have made a very serious tactical and legal blunder here. Because you can't arrest somebody unless you have probable cause. And because she said a stranger, she gave her daughter to a stranger, I'm not so certain that rises to the level of probable cause. And you know what that means? That means that any evidence that comes after this, including a full confession, would be thrown out of court if a judge determines that there was not probable cause for the initial arrest. So they may have blown this entire case from the initial arrest of the defendant.
But she's got conflicting stories, Alex. She's got conflicting stories.
Right, but does that rise to the level of probable cause to make an arrest? Shouldn't they have waited? Where's she going? She's 19 years old. They should have waited until they developed further evidence.
Well, and that's an interesting point. Sue Moss, by the way, and again, everybody, she is not a suspect. She has not been charged yet with anything. She's being questioned, obviously, seriously, including by homicide detectives. Did they jump the gun, Sue Moss?
Absolutely not. They had probable cause for child abuse and for felony child endangerment. She gave this child away in a huff, but kept all of this child stuff. By arresting her now, they had probable cause to do the search, to go in, and when they see that all the kids' toys, all the kids' clothing, all the kids' accoutrements are there, they're going to know she didn't give this child away for a stranger. If you're giving the child away, if you're selling the child, you're going to give all the child's stuff. If the child's stuff is still there, you know this mom did something even more nefarious.
Actually, that's a great point, Sue. The stuff is still there. If you really care about the child, and this doesn't sound like a wealthy woman who had like tons of duplicate items, why are you not giving the car seat, not giving certain particular items, her favorite toys? It stinks. Let's go to Phyllis from Ohio. Phyllis, what's your question tonight?
Hi, I wanted to find out if any of her friends have been questioned or anything.
It doesn't sound like she's got any friends. Let's go to Jason Miles, reporter from affiliate WMC. I think it's a brilliant question. And we also were hearing before, where is her family? Where is anyone coming forward saying, I know this woman? I mean, the dad seems to have no contact with her. Does anyone have contact with her?
And we've tried to get in touch with both her family and the father's family. I think one of your correspondents mentioned those numbers have been disconnected. We have had a colleague or two go by some physical addresses today, knock on doors, no answers. But I am told that Shakara's mother does have custody of her other child somewhere here in the Memphis area. Neighbors in the apartment complex where the baby was reported missing really didn't know Shakara that well. They say she moved in just a few months ago and really kept to herself. In fact, when this baby was reported missing, they didn't even hear from her coming by and knocking on the doors, things like that.
Yeah, which I think is just very telling and shameful in and of itself. Even if you believe her story, there are huge problems with this woman. Let's go to Hayla from Nevada. Hayla, what's your question tonight?
Yes, my question was about the car seat and the significance of she would need to have given it to the stranger for transportation-wise unless she'd already came equipped, which would be concerning because I don't think, she'd have to give it to her to get her around.
And Hayla, and Sue Moss just brought up this, I think it's extremely observant because if you care about this child and you really believe you're giving it over to someone who's going to take care of it, you're going to bring all the items. Steve Cardian, who's former police detective, self-defense expert, I think it's extremely observant that these particular things were still there. The other thing we're also learning, Steve, and I think this just further says, fishy, fishy, fishy. She also tells authorities, according to reports, that she doesn't ask for the woman's name. She doesn't ask for the woman's phone number. This is the woman who comes over according to her own story. This doesn't fit.
Yeah, any reasonable person is not going to believe that. She's a bad criminal. That's going to aid law enforcement. They're holding this case close to the vest, and I'm sure there's a ton of evidence that they're withholding from the public and the media right now.
Alex Sanchez, if you're representing her tonight, what do you say to her?
You're saying she's a bad criminal. She's 19 years old. She's married to an ex-convict. She's under pressure with two kids.
What a pair they are,
she's probably a person of marginal intelligence. And I don't know if she's such a bad person, and I'm not so sure her story's untrue.
Come on.
Police cadaver dog hit on a scent. 9-month-old Lauryn Dickens is still missing.
We don't have a comment. The crime scene technician removed a number of baby toys from the apartment.
Her whereabouts, a complete mystery.
No body was recovered.
I thought that they said last night, the reporter said last night that the dog, that law enforcement told him that the dogs didn't hit on any scent in there. That's kind of like what I remember.